The Stonecarvers Guild podcast is a part of the Stonecarvers Guild organization, which is a fantastic organization. Don't y'all agree?
Oh, yeah, it's great. And it's cheap, too.
It's well worth the price of admission.
It is, for sure. You can find out how to become a general member at stonecarversguild.org. There's a Get Involved section. And I've been a member of the Stonecarvers Guild since its inception. It's been an unbelievable resource as far as the knowledge. How did you describe it, Joel?
Oh, it's a living library of knowledge that the stone carving world otherwise is sort of hard to break into if you are looking around for it. I'm a general member. I'm not a full-time stone carver, but I love it from kind of a hobbyist, part-time perspective, but looking to learn more, and found that through the Stone Carvers Guild, through its forum, and through being able to connect easily with other like-minded folks like Bethany and Matthew.
Yeah. So if you want to be a general member, it's just $40, and you would have access to the resources, which include the forum, and then you can log on and you could ask Matthew questions on the forum.
Or anyone else.
Or anyone else.
And also there's the annual meeting, which I just love because once a year, getting together and sharing stories is an unbelievable experience. And that's something that's also available to general members.
Attend a general meeting or even become a professional member, which has other benefits as well. You just have to go to stonecarversguild.org and click on Get Involved at the top.
Join today.
Welcome to the Stone Carvers Guild podcast. Here you will meet a variety of carvers working throughout North America. Drawing on our collective experience, we seek to share knowledge about this ancient art and to do our part to ensure that stone carving will play an important role in built environments for generations to come. So whether you are an experienced carver, new to the craft, or just curious, put on your safety goggles, open up your mind, and welcome to the workshop.
Sean Hunter Williams, our guest today.
Yeah.
Guys, great conversation.
From Vermont, lots of granite.
Yeah, a lot of granite talk. It's interesting. Boy, the difference between granite carving it's always been really intimidating to me. And it's kind of interesting to hear. It seemed, after this conversation, it seemed a little bit less intimidating. Like maybe, I really thought the part that he's talking about, like just the angle of the chisel, like was a big part of the approach. And I'd never really even thought about that. Mm-hmm. Have you ever carved any granite, Bethany?
Me, no. Well, that's not quite true. I've tried some harder stones, but no, not serious granite carving.
Joel, you're working on a granite piece right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just lettering.
Just lettering.
But it is so satisfying because it just really, it takes it really, really well. Like the shape and the form is just, it's hard. But as we were talking about here, we'll talk a little bit about the polishing process. That's a really satisfying piece in granite because the color just really comes out. The personality really comes out. Unlike, say, slate, where, it's so uniform from the get-go, color-wise. Yeah. If you look on Sean's website, which we'll be referencing as well as his Instagram in this episode, some big pieces.
Yeah.
Big pieces.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Yeah, we're not going to help the listeners navigate very much, but if you just keep poking around, you'll eventually find what pictures we're talking about.
Right.
I couldn't find that owl picture for half of for about 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay.
But it's in the Instagram feed.
Okay.
I eventually discovered, but.
And we'll include the Instagram and the website in the show notes.
Click there
Nice.
if you want to follow along with our narrated tour.
All right. Hey, so maybe we should start with your first slide on Instagram. You said you just got back from Italy? I see some Bernini up here. I'm guessing this isn't your work.
No. Yeah, Bernini. Oh
Description.
my God. I don't think they'd let me mop the floor in Bernini's workshop. It's like so good. I went. It's my dad turned 70 this year, and we went in November. I wanted to do something special with him. So we went to Florence and Carrara and Rome. And it was kind of a Bernini pilgrimage, but also we bought some tools in Carrara. We went to some of the shops, not all of them. And yeah, got a couple air hammers, got some chisels, some diamond bits, stuff like that. We actually, I think we ordered some diamond bits, and I think they should be here like today. But there's a guy over there, Antonio. He's got a Instagram, diamond art or something like that. Yeah, diamond art sculpture is his Instagram handle, and he's just a freelance dude. He's a guy, and he's got the means to like electroplate things for softer stones, and then he's also got sintered bits for granite. But he doesn't do those as much because they're more of a pain in the ass for him. So he's like, I'll make them if you want them. But the first slide on his Instagram, those are all the ones that we just bought. So like big fat sintered diamond burrs.
Well, can you explain to us what that means? What's a centered bit?
And what's electroplate?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I thought I was talking to some stone carvers.
Burn.
No, it's yeah.
John's a fancy granite carver. Granite over here.
Right.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And when you say centered, is it center or sinter?
No, sinter, Sintered. Sintered.
Okay.
Yeah. So we use sintered bits or sintered saw blades for granite. And then electroplated is just big old crusty diamonds on the top of something metal. You could make like a file that way, or a saw blade, or whatever. That's what's cool about this guy is he can electroplate anything. So he's got like spoons that he electroplated that you can use for carving, and like he can make custom metal shapes that he can then electroplate. So it's really cool for the marble stuff. But then for the granite bits, he's like, there's such a pain in the ass because he has to shape them down to be usable, and that's the part that we don't like to do either. So it's like he gave us some nice big new bits for us to use. I think those arrived today, but yeah, they're on his shout out to Antonio. He's got his Instagram handle, which is Diamond Art Sculpture.
Antonio, we'll send you the bill for this advertisement here. So get Sean some free tools.
It's Diamond Art Sculpture, and the first slide that he has up right now are these sintered bits that we ordered from him. So you can't have those because they're in Vermont. But yeah.
And that's for granite. Like you're going to use those for granite carving?
Yeah, those are for granite. And then I bought like a little, my smallest air hammer, the Bantam, crapped out on me. So it's pretty old. So I bought a new Katuri, I guess kind of like a pencil air hammer. It's a smaller one. And a bunch of chisels for that at Milani, which are just so much cheaper. I don't know how they do it. They're so much cheaper than Trow and Olin. So it's really, sometimes it's worth it. Like if you really need to buy a bunch of stuff, it's totally worth the plane ticket to go over there. I found with straps as well, like straps for picking up big pieces of stone. I found those to be a lot cheaper over there.
So Sean, looking at these bits that were made for you, what is the function of the cone shape? What
the upside down cone? It's like that's just like for undercuts. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you've got a something in relief that you really want to pop, you want some shadow underneath it, so you have to undercut the carving.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and it makes it jump off the surface more. So that's really, it's really important for like a lot of things.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just trying to understand. I don't use rotary bits that often.
Oh,
I use just mainly chisel and hammer. But are you putting that down on the background surface and then just kind of pushing it in underneath using that outside edge of the cone as
yeah.
the cutting edge?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be using that all different kinds of ways, but it's basically just to kind of undercut anything.
Yeah.
You don't need to have the flat part flat against something.
You don't. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
just
That's
like
cool.
the general shape. Yeah.
Sean, are you primarily using rotary bits in your carving, or?
No, I mean,
I was just curious,
I don't know if it's primary. I don't know. With granite, you're just throwing everything at it. It's like
Sure.
it's whatever works, and if you start to lose patience, it's whatever works fast. And the the diamond bits really help with like, I don't know what part of the process, but just kind of you've already taken off a lot of stone and you're kind of still shaping things in a general way. And the diamond bits really help to like kind of unify a surface. And kind of, you can put kind of gestural markings in to set you up for something more detailed. So they're you kind of use them a lot in the in-between phase. Or if it's like a finer grit, it does have it leaves a nice surface, but I mean, generally the chisel marks are kind of the better finish, like the final touch. But
I'm
yeah,
looking at your website right now, and it looks like the most recent sort of large project on there is the Fountain of the Four Seasons. And
yeah.
is that granite?
No, that's limestone.
Oh, okay, I couldn't. Okay, so I'm looking through here. What's the last project that you did that was granite?
I did a little baby lamb in the fall for a couple down in North Carolina, I believe.
Ooh, how about this one? The one with the owl, the Ars Longa Vita Brevis. That's a
Yeah.
big granite thing. Can you walk us through the process? Like, because I know a lot of us in the guild work primarily in like marble or limestone, and I think that granite is a bit of a mystery to a lot of people. And anyway, it sounds like you do a lot of granite. So yeah, would you be
Yeah.
willing to walk us through the process of how you would
And
produce
for our
this?
listeners, SeanHunterWilliams.com. Head on over there.
Yes,
Get those
yes.
plugs out there. Also, Sean Hunter Williams on Instagram.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Try to keep it consistent. But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, that piece was that was kind of a community project that has a whole story to it. But just as like the technical side, my dad had a remnant, or like a piece of this is the trouble about doing podcasts in the morning. I don't have all my words yet. It's an offcut. It's like an offcut of a larger project that somebody else did in the shop, and they left it behind. So it was this big piece of gem mist, which is a quarry down in Pennsylvania, and it was about 10, 11 feet tall, and it had the original drill holes from the quarry on it on one side, and then it had two sawn finishes. So it was kind of an interesting piece, and I decided to set the sculpture kind of into the piece, more like a high relief, rather than carve a full round owl on the top. So, the first thing to do is just like everybody else, make a model and cast it in plaster, and that's my reference. And then started pointing that sculpture in granite. So, I'm using the pointing machine to find points, and that's done with, depending on how deep it is, I might cut into the stone to get the point, or if it's closer to the surface, I'll use my pneumatic tools.
So you're using like a rotary, either a rotary grinder or you have points for points for granite.
Yeah, the point. Yeah, often I will use the rotary bit to get me within that final like eighth inch or of the point, and then I'll take a pointed chisel and go for like the final 16th with like with a chisel.
Okay.
And because that stone especially is very hard on your carbide, so like to try to dig out a point too far away, you'll probably chip your chisel, and like it's just easier to just have to do a few taps. So yeah, you get as close as you can with bush, I guess call them bush hammers. I don't know. The main difference, I always tell people the main difference between granite and softer stones, to my mind, is that granite is just more about pulverizing. You're like smashing the stone into place rather than like cutting away, layer after layer with marble or limestone. You're not really.
I've heard that before, but I've always been curious, like, how do you finish it? Like, I understand that that's how you would get, like, rid of material, but how do you then put the detail on if you're just smashing?
Yeah,
Smaller bits.
It's the same thing with the blade. You can have like a flat chisel with a blade, but you're not like cutting across the surface. It's a more I don't know how you put this, like a steeper. It's closer to parallel, or
You're
closer
driving
to
into the into the material.
Yeah, closer to perpendicular. Sorry, to the surface. Wow. And so you're moving the chisel across the surface as you're hitting it, and those kind of like successive like little lines made by the blade, kind of going across the surface, unify it really in a nice way. Cutting across it isn't always. I don't know. I mean, some people do that. I think the old school Italians probably, you can see a lot of them are still doing it just like they would with marble. So I know it works. But I just have never worked with granite like that. It's like the chisel. I can either use it as a shovel or like kind of pulverizing it like directly.
That's interesting.
Like, I don't know. It's be easier if I had like a little video to show you.
Well, I'm curious.
And also, if I had been up for another couple hours, I might
you're good.
explain it. Yeah.
Are you? So your dad was a stone carver or was a granite carver?
Yeah.
Or is still?
Yeah.
And so you learned from your father.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, when did you start that education? Was it like when you were like just old enough to walk, or?
No, I was more like 18. I was pretty interested in other things up until like 18. I was more into yeah.
But you did eventually go and work in his shop and have him teach you.
Yeah. He taught me things here and there. I mean, I have to say, my demeanor has changed over the years, so I'm a lot more. I would say I'm a lot easier to work with now. So, I mean, the man has such infinite patience with me. So I think sometimes I was ready to receive knowledge, and sometimes I wasn't, and I just really wanted to bang around until I messed up and then figure out how to fix it. And I feel like I just do everything the wrong way first, and then just never forget it. But I still forget things, funny. But yeah, I don't know. So I think when I was 25 or so a few years after finishing college, I came back and really started apprenticing like in earnest. And yeah, that was just like, it's such a steep learning curve. That's like those first few years were really, really hard for me because it's like you just can't do anything right. You really can't.
Were there any particular parts of the process that you excelled, or vice versa that you just really had a hard time getting the hang of?
I tried to be a good. I tried to be, a good part of the team. So when I kind of came out of college, I had gained more experience with mold making and um, kind of plaster work, I guess. So I could insert that into the process. I think my dad and Gampo Wickenheiser, who he's been working with for over a decade, they like to do enlargements. So you only have to make a small model and then enlarge it from there. And I found that just a little intimidating with learning like everything else. And so I kind of stuck with pointing and like one-to-one copies, so I could continue to like, practice my mold making and keep that going for every project. And I've done a lot more pointing than they would prefer to do. So, I'll get into the enlarging one day, but then at this point, I think the robots can kind of help out with that. So maybe I won't ever really need to be that good at enlarging, but I did enlarge the fish, which is on my website, but that was the easy one. That was 1/2 scale. So,
which is amazing, by the way.
Oh,
yeah,
thank
it's
you.
really beautiful.
Thanks.
The process of enlarging is the intimidation like what is it?
I'm not. I haven't found any call for it yet. I mean, like I'm not intimidated of it now. But I was speaking to when I was like learning. So like learning all the different tools, learning where they are in the shop, and what to do when things break, and like there's a lot of just technical fluency that you need to gain before you're just comfortable walking around and working on a project. So that stuff was kind of overwhelming, and to add the enlargement process on top of that just seemed like too much. So that's where I started to like push back on it. But now I would love to do an enlargement project. It's not that intimidating for me now. I have more of a familiarity with everything, and like I'm not going to be wondering about how to make my tool do something. I can focus on the math and the geometry of it.
On the fish, the texture of on the back, and the changes in coloration, that's all from texture. Is that correct?
Yeah, I chose that that granite. It's called Laurentian green. It's from Canada, so from the Laurentians. And I chose it because when it's polished, it was a pretty close match to brook trouts in color. And so I one of the more fun things I did with that piece was experimenting with just kind of the tonal changes you can get within granite carving. As you polish it, it gets darker or truer to the actual color of the stone. And so I did the ridge of the fish, or the back of the fish, I did all polish, and then I could etch the kind of vermiculite like pattern on the back of brook trout, like the camouflage they have. I could etch that into the polish.
And what tool did you use to do that etching?
I think just one of those cheesy bluestones you get in the die grinder kit. I think I penciled it in with an etching machine. Like my the borders, my outline.
Uh-huh.
I think I used the etching machine a little bit, and then I was like, this is way too slow, and I just just got out one of those bluestone bits, and it's a lot easier to fill in the white part that way. Yeah, so I got to experiment with it, and you can really do like a gradation. You can go to a lower polish and fade that into a high polish. It's pretty cool. I haven't seen many granite sculptures that utilize that quality, and so I was just kind of curious to try it out.
It's
yeah,
really
it looks
beautiful.
like, I mean, I was noticing that you did that on the fish, but then also the teddy bears that have the polished parts and non-polished. Can you tell us about polishing granite, what the process is like for that?
It's the same as wood. It's just a lower grit sandpaper to a finer grit sandpaper. I think most of your work, the real work of it, is in the lower grits, which just like anything else. And once you get to the higher grits, it's pretty easy because you're not really removing stone anymore. You're just kind of trying to make it shiny. So it's and especially if you have any flaws in the lower polish in the lower grits, then those are going to show up even more as you keep going. So you have to really be checking your work before you progress to the next grit.
And what's the best kind of sandpaper to use for that?
I use mostly those. They're like pads. They're like resin pads that you use wet with. So I don't really use sandpaper much with granite.
And are we talking about like 600 grit or 6,000
all the way up through?
grit?
Well, the polish really starts around 800. That's when you start getting the darkness, and then up to 3,000 is like shiny. That's like countertop polish. So 3,000 is nice, but it's not always necessary. You can probably, depending on especially if you're doing sculpture, like you don't really need to go up to 3,000. So I'd probably stop at like 1,500 or around 800. Also, once you get to 800, you can use tin oxide instead of
water.
So instead of like a pad or sandpaper, you kind of it's just a different process. You get like a paste of tin oxide and apply that and kind of buff it.
Interesting.
And that's a really fine abrasive, and it really really shines up the stone. Most people think that's the best.
I gotta tell you, I'm eating this up because I'm polishing a piece of granite right now.
You are?
Not during the podcast, guys.
Yeah.
I thought I heard something.
Oh, weird. No, but I'm using those kind of the dry diamond polishing pads. Well, the dry wet, and sort of experimenting a little bit.
Use them wet. Use them wet.
Yeah. And started at the 100, and it seems like the time exponentially decreases just the higher up you go, and it's just a great shine it gives you. It's really cool.
Yeah,
it's very satisfying as you go through the process.
It is.
Any other tips? Please let me know.
Yeah, my dad is looking at me like he hates polishing, so he's looking at me like I'm crazy, and I'm just like, I don't know. I think it's super satisfying and really nice, and he would always be like, you're gonna polish that? Gee, it's like he just hates doing it.
Well, it's funny because, like, in the times I've done it, people go, "What did you spray on that?" Or what kind of finish did you cover that with? Like, no, it's just been polished to the point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really funny how people's knowledge of stone is people are so removed from it. I mean, I get it, but it's like I'm, in a place where I'm immersed in it pretty much. And I forget that it's just a small little town.
I get asked so often if I use lasers, And I'm just like, who are these people? What do they think these lasers are? Like,
like a lightsaber? Like
is it? Yeah, right. Or is it Star Trek or something? Like where these lasers are really finely tuned?
What laser? Yeah,
I
love
would do this.
But here's the real question: would Michelangelo have used lasers if
yeah,
they
he
were
would have.
available?
I'd use a
They
laser
wouldn't
if
have
I
done anything.
No, I just think of the robot discussion. Michelangelo would never have, and then other people were.
Michelangelo would have
entire
had
shop would be.
Yeah, he would have had 10 robots, man.
Yeah.
No, that's
now Leonardo da Vinci would not have used a robot. He would have just
unless he could make it himself, then he would.
Unless he would have made one, but he wouldn't have wanted to use one.
People would have been buying the robots from him, probably.
Right.
No, he just would have drawn one and then not finished it. But
so I'm just
we do have to ask Sean though about the hand tools versus pneumatic tools.
Yeah, but before we go there, I just want one more question about the fish. On your website, I see a rendering of this fish that's taller than a human. Is that accurate, or is that like what you would like to eventually do?
Taller than a human?
Well, there's a rendering.
I mean, I did like a site drawing, and at the site, I wanted it to be elevated, so I did I don't think they raised it quite as much. It's not.
So,
yeah.
This fish is much bigger than it looks in the photographs. Then,
there's a picture. There's a picture there of a lady standing beside the fish.
Yeah.
And though the fish is elevated a little bit, it's a huge fish. Is
no,
this how big fish get in Vermont?
Yeah, yeah. That's the ultimate fisherman's lie right there. But yeah, I haven't uploaded them yet, but there's a photographer, Jack Rowell, who took a bunch of photos during the unveiling, and he got some really great shots of these kids playing on it, which is really it's really what it's for, because the hatchery is like everybody goes on a field trip there as a kid when you're growing up in central Vermont. So a lot of kids go through there, and I wanted it to be interactive for them, so it's totally okay for kids to go and climb on it and stuff. And so he got some great shots of that. I mean, I don't know who the kids are, but of them playing on it. And it's good for scale, but it's also it gives it a really nice, a really nice image of what it's about. And yeah.
Yeah, so I finally scrolled down far enough to see the woman standing next to the fish. This fish is huge.
I know.
The other photographs, I have to say, the other photographs make it look a little smaller than it actually is. I was thinking it was like 1.5 feet or something, but this fish is big.
I didn't have great shots at the time, and now I do. So that's. But
the in-studio shots are beautiful. It's just that they don't give a sense of the scale.
Yeah, no scale. Yeah, and
Another one that's shocking is like the bear head, but then when there's some pictures of you working on it, it looks like, Sean, and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, that's huge.
Yeah, that's big. And it's so funny because those are installed in like I think like a 15-20 foot radius archway. So they look tiny installed. They don't. You have no idea how big they are on site. But they're big.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Those are installed. The bear is installed at the Old Parkland campus in Dallas, Texas. So Old Parkland's like this kind of like corporate headquarters or like a corporate campus for a bunch of different people or a bunch of different companies.
Oh.
And it's very like old architectural style, like Georgian or like kind of colonial style architecture, and that was developed by Harlan Crow, real estate, Texas real estate magnate guy, and he's got great taste. He's he was not He did not get good press lately, if you've heard his name lately,
No.
because he's friends with Judge Clarence Thomas, and so there's like speculation about his relationship with him and stuff. And there was a couple smear pieces about him that I read that I thought was pretty funny, because they're like, oh my God, he has like Nazi plates, and it's like, yeah, but he also has like Castro sculptures in his collection. He's got Stalin sculptures. Like, he's into like the whole dictator spectrum, and it's just to just single that out is it's like, yeah, why would you want that thing? That's weird. But he also has a lot of stuff from like Lenin and like.
At least he's consistent. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's different. So,
And he commissions cool carvings. That does seem very.
I have to say,
and buffalo heads.
Taste.
It looks like
he
looks
has
like a buffalo
taste.
head in the back.
Huh.
Yeah, my dad did the buffalo, and then Gampo did the eagle. Yeah, and the eagle
is the boar head below it. Is that that's a different commission?
Yeah, for the same person but a different property. Yeah,
interesting.
No, these are in.
Awesome.
These are also in granite, but it's Brazilian gold. So I had assumed, looking at your website, I was thinking, or you mentioned bar. So bar is okay. I associate Vermont with granite quarries, because we interviewed, who is the guy we interviewed?
Michael Fannin.
Michael
Fannin.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So is the fact that you work with granite, is that related to the fact that there's quarries there and there's a lot of granite? But it looks like the granite that you're working in isn't necessarily Vermont granite.
No. So we say berry locally, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Oh gosh.
Oops.
I wanted to let you get your thought out.
I was with you, Bethany.
No, thank you. And thank you for the correction. Yeah.
Yeah, but actually it's berry. No, so the so Vermont has a few stones. Most notably is granite, but we also have marble. It's this huge, one of the largest marble quarries in the world is down in Danby. So, and then we've got the green serpentine. And those are the main ones. Oh, and slate. Sorry. So Vermont has a lot of stone. It's a pretty abundant natural resource. And because of that, the industry built up, but then it's also a central place for import. So we can process all kinds of granite here.
Okay.
So because of the buildup of, the local industry, we're also able to fabricate in, whatever granite people are using.
Interesting.
So yeah, there's I think most of the imports we have are in berry that you can get like on hand, are from quarries that are also owned by, Rock of Ages or Polycore. So nothing too exotic from like Brazil or Turkey or whatever. Those, that's kind of like a different network. But Cold Springs is where we got the gold in Brazil from. And actually that Brazilian outfit, Grasmini, I think, they had a rep that was up walking around Barrie and handing out business cards, and they're a Brazilian company, and they've got some pretty cool stones that they import, and I think they have a big processing plant down in Texas. But they're around. They've been buying up stuff on the East Coast and in Vermont. So
now Barrie is where the Vermont Granite Museum is located. Is that right?
Yeah. I think I'll be renting space from them pretty soon, because our shop is very cold, and I just don't want to. I don't want to do it. So yeah, they have really great lighting at the Granite Museum too. So I was gonna rent some space there for a project, and yeah, I love it there. I was teaching there last year. They got a program started with Norwich University, and I taught a couple classes, and one of them I taught at the Granite Museum.
Cool.
And then I did some workshops with the teens there, the youths. That program's doing well, so I hopefully I'll do some more with them in the coming year.
Is this photo on your Instagram of where you're using the pointing machine, and you're just blocking it in? It's the sculpture by Christian Peterson.
Yeah, that's limestone.
Is that your workshop right now?
Yeah, that's the banker I'm in right now in my dad's shop.
And it's cold.
It's cold, man. You know, and that the banker where I work, that's right next to the pellet stove, so that's like the warmer spot. But you know, it's right now it's not so bad, but it dropped to like below zero last week, and I was talking to my dad. He's like, "I'm not going in. Like, I'm just not. It's not even. It's not even worth it. The tools don't even work." So yeah, the Granite Museum's got a big, like, so much natural sunlight in that little workshop area, and it's warm, and you know their compressor is great. Everything's great. I know where everything is and how it works, and it's like, I don't know. I would just kick them a donation and just do some work there.
I find it's nice. It's cold over here in Ohio, not Vermont cold, but it's still cold. But if you light a candle and you just put your little hand chisels right over the candle, just the right place. There's a nice area right in between burning your hand off and too cold.
Yeah.
But there's a nice if you can figure out that spot through trial and error. It's
I do that too. Yeah. I put the pellet stove has like a little shelf that gets hot, and then the blower kind of blows from there. So I just put everything on that, and that's. But yeah, it can get hot, or it can get too hot. But it's really the ground. I mean, you just gotta like. Just Gampo and I went over to my dad the other day, and we were looking at the floor and like, damn, Jerry, you building a nest over here? Because like you just had like layers of stuff on the ground to be, you know. Because all the heat gets sucked out of your feet. It's like,
right.
Unless you put like, so he was putting like, he put down like rubber, and then he put down a layer of like, one of those moving blankets, and like, it just looked really, really cozy.
Funny.
Yeah. But you got to, have at least a layer of rubber or something.
So, Sean, can I ask you about another project that I'm seeing on your website?
Yeah, ask away, man.
It's a photograph of all the slot machine gravestones. I don't know how to describe it.
That's Photoshop.
That project. Oh, that's Photoshopped. Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's Photoshop. That's a proposal.
Oh, okay. I got you. It's a really funny idea.
Yeah,
I love
that's something I would like to do in a graveyard someday.
Yeah, no, that's really funny. I think that.
Yeah.
This is under public commissions, Matt? Or no, where is that?
It's under studio work.
Okay.
If you scroll down past all the drug bags.
Yeah.
Which is another project I'd like to know more about.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Oh my gosh.
It's really funny.
Those are pretty polarizing, those drug bags.
Yeah. Now are those are real?
They are from real drug bags.
But those are real. That's not a Photoshop project.
No. I was
a real project.
I was in Philly, and I was picking up all these bags, and then I would fill them with wax and bring them to Jewelers Row and get them cast in silver.
Wow.
And then, make like pendants and earrings and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
did people buy them, or were they?
Yeah. People. I mean,
really?
Yeah, people bought. I didn't sell a lot of them, but people bought them, and they were super into it. I had all kinds of people buy them. People thought they were cool. People who were like in recovery, who bought them and thought they had like a meaning for them.
Yeah,
and they're fun. There was another artist doing it at the same time. I don't think theirs were as nice as mine, but they were way ahead of me with like marketing and just being being in New York City, basically, and like,
yeah.
but I think that I forget who that artist is, but their bags sucked, and mine were better.
So you were an art student.
Yeah, I was. I went to Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts and then transferred to University of Pennsylvania.
Okay, and now a lot of the work that you're doing is commissions.
Yeah.
Right. So how are you handling the switch from, or like how do you deal with the parts of you that just want to make stuff because you want to make stuff, and then
I don't know. I think I told myself a while ago, like when I first started in stone carving, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this for 10 years and get like as good as I can. And then I'm going to figure out how to finance making my own stuff. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. So I had a residency at the St. Gaudens National Park for 2 summers. So not last summer, but 2022 and 2023, I was a sculptor in residence at St. Gaudens National Historical Park, and they give you a studio. And there's a lot more to the job than just working in the studio, but I did get studio time for the first time since art school there, pretty much, where I could just go into a place every day and like ideate and, just sketch and, read or whatever, and just kind of think about what I want to make. And I did some other like, practice. I was also practicing portraiture and trying to hone my skills there. But I've got, my sketchbook with some stuff that I've been thinking about for a while. And, I think I can make it happen this year. It looks like a lot of the projects I'm doing are like have summer deadlines. And so then this fall, if I don't take any more work, I should be able to just kind of do what I want in the fall, and not have to worry about paying rent and stuff, which has taken a long time to get to this point. I did okay this year, and it's like it takes a long time to build up a reputation and a website, and I think word of mouth is just so much better than anything else, and people need to see that you're committed, and then they start calling you. So it's like, I don't know, but I have gotten work from the website. I've gotten a handful of jobs from the website, which is good. But yeah, commissions is like, it's completely different, but I don't like how it's portrayed in art school. I came to be pretty jaded about that education. And
what do you mean? Is it portrayed as lesser?
It's portrayed as lesser, and the dream that they kind of sell you, or the dream that everyone accepts, is just reality of what an artist is like you make whatever you want in your studio and then you sell it. And the reality that's really more of a independently wealthy person's reality than like a regular like working class person's reality. And so
the
they're
trust
telling
fund route.
Yeah, and I started to realize how many people in my school like did have trust funds and like could get a studio and do stuff like that, and I was like, oh, we are not the same, and this is an education that is not really speaking to me. And they were kind of at the academy too. They were kind of pushing out the figurative guys. They had more of a presence in the past at Pennsylvania Academy. It was more about figurative art, and I think a lot of those dudes got pushed out. And but that's really a career path for somebody who doesn't have a trust fund. You can do commissions, you can do portrait commissions, you can do like religious work, you can do stuff for the movies. There's a lot of things you can do as a working sculptor if you know your anatomy, and that's it's just this weird, like, I don't know, you can't really call it a conspiracy, but it's just the same people that are kind of designing the education are the same people that also don't have to work, it just seems to, I don't know, there just seems to be this kind of like, not classism, but just like I don't know, like, oh yeah, if you want to do art, that's what you do. You get a studio and you rent a studio and you rent an apartment and you buy materials and you do that until something sells. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, that's not, it was pretty hard getting out of art school and realizing that. And like, so you
Is
kind of
that when
just,
you became more receptive to your father's instruction?
uh, I think it's when I realized that I really had something with him, like
Yeah.
it's a really niche thing. It's a really, and not a lot of people have skills in general. And to have a skill like that is even more unique. And so,
Yeah.
having traveled around a bit and just seen the different kinds of jobs I could get, um, stone, stone carving seemed like a really great option.
Yeah. And not to slag on art schools too much, but I think that's kind of the crux of it. I think that art schools, there's not really time to teach somebody a set of skills like carving stone. And so it's much easier to teach conceptual ideas and maybe a little bit of business and a little bit of, marketing and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, depending on where you are in your career, I think the education makes sense.
Right.
But really what they're teaching you is art making as like management. You're like artist as manager. So you're managing a project, or artist as academic. And so you know a lot about a thing and you're kind of visualizing that in a unique way, or it's artist as a salesman, and you're able to sell an idea, but that you can't actually make yourself.
Right. Right.
And it's like I feel like you reach that point after a while, but you really gotta work your way up to that. In my view, I mean, some people have all that stuff already, and so they are going to hone those skills, and they do want to research a specific topic, or they do want to know more about how to, manage a whole process. So I don't know.
So when you teach your classes at was it the Vermont Carving Museum?
Vermont Granite Museum, yeah.
Yeah, the Granite Museum. So like when you have your teenagers, how do you do those classes? Like how do you approach those classes just given everything that you've learned?
I tried to be super real with them and appeal to like their base kind of like, hey, here's how you make molding, and if you're good at it, someone might pay you $70 an hour. Like, I'm like, so listen up, like I'm not just talking bullshit at you guys. Like, this is a skill, and or like letters. Like, I don't know if someone might pay you $100 a letter if you're really good at it. Like, you should listen to me. And these are really, the teenagers are like real working class kids, and I think they get that, and the college students were a little bit more, it was, they got it. But they were kind of across the board with like skill level. And so some of them really needed like real, more basic skill building stuff. And that's hard when you're kind of throwing like 5 different power tools at a kid and 10 different chisels that all do different things. And it's like, I totally sympathize with that, because I know that it's a lot to take in at once. but I started with the trade stuff, which is not how I started in stone. Like I didn't learn I didn't have an architectural kind of classic stonemason kind of education. I just kind of jumped right into sculpture, and I think that approach, the more classical approach of starting with like molding and lettering and using that to build and go into sculpture, I thought that made a lot of sense. And it, not only that, but it gives you those basic like vocational skills along the way. So I love what like the American Academy of Building Arts in Charleston's doing. I think they're doing amazing work, and I really hope that they just grow and grow and grow, because I think they're doing it right. And that's kind of what I wanted to emulate up here. So yeah, cool. It's like, if you got a trust fund already, like, what are you talking to me for? You don't need me. Like, to go pay someone to do your stone carving. What does it matter? So yeah, I don't know.
Oh, one quick question too from your website. I noticed that you went to, or not the website, the Instagram. You have the Montreal Carving Festival. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that was so much fun. I'm going to go back this summer.
Tell us about it. It looks really cool.
It is, and those guys are so nice. Like, everybody's great, and I would love to hang out with them more. There's the two groupings of people. There's some people based more in Montreal, and then there's some people based more out in Ottawa, because they're doing a lot of building there, a lot of construction there for the Capitol, or a couple main buildings that require a lot of stone carving. So there's like some full-time dudes who just work out there who are really, really good and just lovely. And yeah, they give you a 1-foot cube of limestone, and you've got like 3 days to turn it into something. There's a theme. So this past summer, the theme was agriculture.
I'm all about that.
Yeah. So, is that your work? You do a lot of agricultural work?
Yeah, I'm from a farming background, and so absolutely, farming and stone carving.
Yeah,
I'm heading to Montreal.
Well, yeah, man. Well, I don't know what the theme's going to be. Yeah, I don't know what the theme's going to be this year.
It's going to be urban this year, urban environments. Right.
Which I'm also prepared for. But when I showed up, there was a bunch of people who had done it before, and their work was like already like 50% done or something. So I was like, what? You can't. So I showed up to like carve a block from nothing, and some people were like half done already. I was like, that's not cool.
Well, looks like you did fine.
Yeah, and I still finished before everybody. So it's not a race, but I did.
But I won.
But it's not a race, but I had hours to spare, and I just walked around and said hi to everybody. So yeah, the limestone is God, it's so much easier. But I'm not set up for hand carve. You can't use power tools because it's a public space. So
Bethany, you're gonna love it.
Yeah. So I really wasn't set up for. Yeah, I really wasn't set up for doing everything by hand. So I was, a little behind there. But not this year. This year, God, they had like. Also, if you sign up for the symposium and you do it, they've got great sponsors. They had like a nice little catered meet and greet thing, and then they had all these tools they gave away and T-shirts. And so I walked away with like some French chisels and like a mallet that somebody made that's like so heavy. I mean, I don't know when I'm going to use this thing. It's like a really heavy, like 2-pound wooden mallet made out of like. I forget the kind of wood it is, but it's solid. It's nice. And
this sounds like a great destination for the podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, go. Let's make that happen.
Okay. Yeah, and you can talk to different. You can talk. Well, it's a concentration of stone carvers, so you can talk to a bunch of different people about what they're up to, I think it'd be so funny to interview all of the Ottawa guys at once. They're not cliquey, but they know each other, so they're hanging out, And yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun, and definitely a challenge for me to do more by hand. Like I mean, I do plenty of hand finishing and like roughing out, but the in between stuff, I tend to use a lot of power tools because I want to get to the fun part where I am using hand tools.
All right, so we do need to ask you to weigh in on your. We have a controversy, a very.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
On this podcast about the benefits of hand tools versus pneumatic tools. So, like, where do you fall in that? How do you decide when to use pneumatic, when to use hand tools? Yeah, all that stuff.
Which one's the winner, really?
Right.
That's what Bethany wants to know, because this is not a controversy.
It's a fun controversy. We have fun.
It's a rumble.
I think it depends on what you're doing. I think if you're doing the softer stones, absolutely by hand is superior and the best. Just so much more control. But with granite, I'd like to see you try. Like, it's just, I mean, you can do it. Sure, you can do it, but there's one guy. Actually, there's a guy in Ireland who reached out to me. Oh gosh, what's his name? But he is. There's a town called Ballyknocken, and that's like, I think it's north of Dublin, and they've been quarrying granite there forever. And he does carve granite by hand, and I'm just like, you're a maniac. And then he is also like 6'5" and like just a house of a man. Like he's just. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, he can carve granite by hand, but and he's doing, mostly architectural stuff. So I don't know that he's doing much like full round sculpture by hand. Again, I'm sure it's possible.
We should get him on the podcast.
Yeah. Oh my God. Get him in the guild. I really want to visit him. He seems like such a solid dude. And like, I mean, I just want to meet the person that's carving granite by hand. Like that's wow. And just watch him or help him with stuff if you need, I don't know. But, and I've the other thing about Barrie is in Vermont is like, there's a range of stones that you're called to work with. So, I've worked with, marble and limestone too. I did a lot of limestone in, 2024 and, it was great. And I found that, I really had to slow things down because once you realize how fast things can go, I'm like, oh, wow, I can cut into this like butter. And then that makes me think like, oh, well, I can actually afford to go slower with this and just do it right instead of going too deep or, messing up because I can go fast, like that's not.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
Mean you should. Yeah. So I was doing, most of my finish work and roughing out with, well, not with hand. I mean, it's, I don't know. The pneumatics are just like, I don't know why you wouldn't use them for something. Like if you're just cutting in a relief, and you need to push the surface back, like why wouldn't you just get a pneumatic and just plow all that off and save yourself like a couple hours probably. I don't know. It can go. I'm sure it can go fast by hand too, but I don't know. I don't, I'm not very dogmatic about anything. Like if it's just whatever works. But I just grew up with pneumatics, so I'm just comfortable with them. And yeah, but I like, and you have to tool up, like that's like what I've invested in is the pneumatic stuff. And like, I looked at the other guys in Canada and like, they've got like 10 different mallets and like all these different kinds of chisels. And that's like, man, I don't want to, I already have all my stuff. And like, I got to get different chisels for hand. And like, I just have to drop another $2,000 to set up for hand carving. And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Matthew, we should collect a bunch of quotes on this topic so we can have Scott Halverson, because I'm not silly. We can have I feel like Sean had a bunch of quotes in there we could use.
I know that really cut you deep, Bethany.
A little montage.
Right? It sticks with me.
I can't wait until you and Scott actually meet in person.
Yeah, he's great.
I have to make sure that I
two Minnesotans.
Oh yeah, we're both Minnesotans, so we'll be real nice to each other, and then smack talk each other.
He does amazing work. I would love to meet him. Have you had this thing? I feel like this is a Midwest thing that someone told me about recently that I really want to try, which is fire poked beer. Have you had that?
I have not.
It's
fire poked beer.
Yeah, you heat up a piece of metal and put that in your beer, and it caramelizes
I'll tell you what.
it.
Joel, have you experienced this? I have no idea.
And then you drink it. And it's
you guys in the cold.
This sounds like a joke.
In the cold weather.
No, I'm
with
so
some
serious.
of the craziest things.
I'm busy. My new thing right now is I mix Guinness with another beer. So make like a blacksmith.
Black and tan,
yeah, black and tan or whatever.
No, I want to try this.
Black and blue if you put Blue Moon in it. Okay, there you go.
Oh, nice. Yeah. No, I want to try this fire poked beer. I think it might have German origins. It sounds pretty medieval. But it's supposed to give it a whole different flavor.
At the guild meeting, maybe we can make that something on the agenda.
Yeah, we'll do a chisel poked beer and just get somebody's point chisel red hot and
well, we'll see if the hand chisel poked beer versus the pneumatic chisel.
The pneumatic chisel poked beer. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Which one's preference? Blind taste test. I like this. I like where this is going.
Yeah. I'm dead serious. I will totally repurpose one of my point chisels for this.
All right. Sounds good.
Bloomington, Indiana.
Yeah.
This summer. We will be there.
Yeah.
Sounds
great. You were saying, Matthew, we should wrap up?
Yeah, well, I was just going to thank Sean for taking the time to talk with us. It's been enjoyable.
Yeah, I hope some people got something out of this.
Absolutely.
But yeah. And let me know when you guys got something else going on. I didn't get to the last meeting, but I would love to meet up again. And if you do want to come up to Montreal, I'll be sure to forward you all the stuff as soon as they release it. If you're not already following yourself,
I would appreciate
I found the
that.
website.
I was looking. I just was looking online. It doesn't look like they've announced the things for 2025 yet. But
no. But yeah, I had such a nice time, and it's so close to me. I mean, it's a 2-hour drive. So,
sure.
But yeah, that's a really fun thing. I'm glad I found it.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Sean. Fantastic. You've been listening to the Stone Carvers Guild podcast. We hope you've enjoyed this conversation, and we hope that you will find us online at stonecarversguild.org. There you can find photos showing some of the things that we discussed today, additional information about our guest, and if you're so inclined, ways to get more involved with the Guild and our ongoing activities. And of course, if you've enjoyed this podcast, we hope that you will subscribe and rate us on the podcaster of your choice. 5 stars, please. We'll be back in a month with a new episode, so until then, keep your hammer up and your chisel sharp.